So it is the month of June. That means we are halfway through the year, if you can believe it. And that means it is time for the mid-year freakout tag, where we, as readers, as booktubers, take stock of our reading thus far and see where we stand. Now, this is a pretty popular tag. It's been on BookTube for years, but I have taken the liberty of revising the list of questions that comprise the tag, because if I was to adhere to the original, some of them would likely not even apply to my specific case as a reader, and this would be a pretty short and kind of pathetic video. So I have changed things, and also the answers to these questions I will be drawing exclusively from the stock of material which I have both read and done uh, content on, that I have made videos on. I have read some things that I have not made videos on, but I'm going to exclude that from the running here. So, like I say, these questions have been revised to fit me more specifically, and the answers which I'm going to give to them are going to be restricted exclusively to the material which I have both read and made videos on. So, without further ado, let's get into the mid-year freakout tag with question one: best fictional book you've read so far this year. Easy for me. That's going to be The Mandibles by Lionel Shriver. This book really just knocked it out of the park for me anyway. This is a very pertinent book, and a very uncomfortably pertinent book at that. It is about a near future America which is beset by what you might call a financial apocalypse. And it hits just entirely too close to home. In fact, as I speak, I believe that the national debt of the United States has just passed the $37 trillion mark. Uh, this book is like a window onto a nightmarish future, which becomes more plausible by the day, it seems. But this book just knocked it out of the park for me. Like I say, this is the first thing I've ever read by Lionel Shriver, and I was truly blown away. It's well written, the characters are great, very human, and it is also just based all to hell. There's things said in this book, there are statements made, opinions expressed, which are quite outside of the normal political mainstream. There is shit in this book that you damn sure ain't gonna hear on CNN, assuming anybody still watches CNN. This book is not afraid to say some unpopular things, but I respect the hell out of it for that, because it is so ballsy. It is really just an incredibly ballsy and daring book, audacious. And I respect that. It's also just a fantastic literary product. It was engrossing. I was turning pages, just, flying through that thing, because it was such a great book. So, yeah, the best book that I've read in 2025 thus far is The Mandibles by Lionel Shriver. And on to question two: best non-fictional book you've read so far this year. So that was kind of a tough one for me, but I finally settled on this little book right here. In fact, to even call this a book might be a little generous. Booklet might be more appropriate, but I think for my pick of the best non-fictional book that I've read so far this year, it's going to be Christopher Langan's The Cognitive Theoretic Model of the Universe. This is, bar none, the most challenging and difficult thing I have ever read in my life. I didn't understand probably even half of what's in this book. It is truly an Everest of a read, but what I did understand of this just absolutely floored me. I think that it is one of the most, or maybe the most successful examples, the most successful example perhaps of A True Theory of Everything. This is a book which spans physics and metaphysics, and it may just succeed in its endeavors to explain literally everything. If you don't believe me, pick it up, give it a read. If you can understand it, you might find yourself blown away as I was. This is kind of a controversial work. A lot of people will just tell you that this is just word salad gibberish, meant to be kind of a pseudo scientific, pseudo philosophic defense of like intelligent design. That is not what this is to me anyway. I would wholeheartedly aver that this is not word salad in the slightest. I think this is difficult because the aims of the work, the scope of it is such that it has to be difficult by its very nature. But what I understood of this, even though I probably didn't even understand most of it, or even, like I say, half of it, what I was able to glean from it was enough to impact me deeply. It may just explain everything. It may just prove the existence of God in a kind of non traditional sense. If you don't believe me, pick up Christopher Langan's The Cognitive Theoretic Model of the Universe and give it a read. It might just blow you away as much as it did me. So, yeah, the best non fictional thing that I have read this year, the best non fictional book that I've read in 2025 thus far is The Cognitive Theoretic Model of the Universe by Christopher Langan. Now, question number 3, biggest disappointment. That's an easy one. That would be Lapvona by Ottessa Moshfegh. This book was a steaming pile of shit. It was irredeemably stupid and juvenile and pointless. I'd heard some good things and bad things about this book going into it. I remember when it came out, it kind of caused a buzz. It seems to be a rather love it or hate it affair, and I firmly fall in the hate it camp. I think this book has literally nothing redeemable about it. It has seemingly no purpose to it, no point, says seemingly nothing. It is the most grotesque and cruel, and again, just like stupid thing that I have ever read. It felt like something written by an edgy 10th grader, and yeah, that's actually a pretty good description of this book. I think it's edgy, seemingly for no purpose except to be edgy. It's just stupid. It says nothing. It's just a terrible book. Would not recommend it. So yeah, the biggest disappointment of 2025 thus far, and hopefully the biggest disappointment of 2025 overall. If I read something worse than this, then heaven help me. But yeah, biggest disappointment of 2025 so far is Lapvona by Ottessa Moshfegh. On to question number 4, the biggest surprise. Now, the biggest surprise of 2025 is going to be Midnight Cowboy by James Leo Herlihy. It surprised me because I was caught off guard by just how good this book was. Now, going into this book, I was anticipating it being a good book, given that the film that's based upon it is, a classic. But I was not prepared for just how good this book actually was. This book is really a masterpiece, actually. It is fantastically written. It is deeply, achingly human, with a central character who is about as real as it comes. He is very pitiable, but it's so just intimate, and it's such an intimate portrayal of loneliness and isolation, and it cuts to the quick. It really does. It's just a fantastic book, possibly one of the best books of the last century. I will go so far as to tentatively say that. So the biggest surprise of 2025 so far is Midnight Cowboy by James Leo Herlihy. Now, I'm going to hold on to this book and not set it down yet, because the next question, question number 5, book that made you sad, that would also be Midnight Cowboy by James Leo Herlihy. This is a devastatingly sad book. I mean, like, this book will wreck you with just how heartrending it really is. Just the sorrow at the heart of this book. It's brutal. but it is rendered so eloquently that you really can't look away and it sucks you in. Again, just one of the most poignant depictions of loneliness and isolation and solitude that you are likely to ever read. Just a fantastic book, and it is a heartbreaker if ever there was one. So, yeah, book that made me sad, Midnight Cowboy by James Leo Herlihy. And question number 6, a book that made you happy. So I'm going to pick for this question The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. This book made me happy because of what the book says, what the book stands for. The book's main message, if it can be said, I suppose, to have a main message, is that good always wins in the end. And used to be, and I mentioned this in my review of The Lord of the Rings, which you can check out. When I read The Lord of the Rings the first time when I was a teenager, it didn't really jive with me because its purity was such that I kind of just viewed it as naive and kind of childlike. But now, been around the block a little bit more, I appreciate that so much more. And the themes of this book about friendship, the power of friendship, and courage and loyalty, and being willing to stand up in the face of evil, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds, but going the distance anyway because it's the right thing to do. It all just means so much more to me now than it did. I'm much more on this book's wavelength this time around. And it really did make me happy because, you can say, as my younger self would have said, that it's very cliched and trite. But, sometimes things are cliched and trite because they are so true, they are so valid. And I think the central message of The Lord of the Rings that good always triumphs in the end. No matter how much bad happens, no matter how many people die or calamities ensue, ultimately good will prevail. And I do believe that with every fiber of my being now. And so I think this book is such a valuable work because it reminds us of that, or it can anyway. And it did make me happy because, given the world in which we currently dwell, I think that is an invaluable message to take to heart. So, a book that made me happy, The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. And on to question 7, favorite new author, debut or new to you. For me, this may be cheating a little bit because this author wasn't wholly new to me. I had read one short story by this author, but I'm going to pick Jorge Luis Borges because this work, which is the collected fictions of him, which is pretty much every fictional piece that he ever wrote, I think, it knocked my socks off. It really did. It is a fantastic book. It is a book that you can really get lost in. It is so cerebral, so mind-bending, so trippy and surreal at times, but it is truly a perfect example of food for thought. Just a fantastic compendium of some of the best short stories ever penned. And so, because of that, because of just how many hits this book has, I'm going to say that the my favorite new author, even though this may kind of be cheating a little bit, is going to be Jorge Luis Borges because this book kicked ass. So on to question 8. Newest favorite character. For me, that's going to be Manfred from the titular closet drama by Lord Byron. Manfred is the perfect, literally like the textbook example of the Byronic hero because it pretty much just is Lord Byron, a fictionalized version of Lord Byron. It is so moody, it is so edgy, but it's just also so cool. It really is. Manfred is just this Faustian nobleman who lives alone in a Gothic castle in the mountains. He gives lots of, again, moody soliloquies and consorts with spirits. And he's a total badass as well. Again, newest favorite character for me is going to be Manfred from the titular closet drama by Lord Byron because it's basically pretty much just Lord Byron himself doing Lord Byron shit, right? Just kick-ass character, total badass. So Manfred for my newest favorite character. question number 9. What are you currently reading? I am currently reading White Noise by Don DeLillo. I have not in the past been the biggest fan of Don DeLillo, but that may change after I complete this book, because what I have read of White Noise thus far has really, really impressed me. This is the book that put DeLillo on the map and launched him to the forefront of American writers. It won the National Book Award, and it is in contention kind of with Underworld for the title of his magnum opus. For me, even though I have not finished White Noise yet, I would wholeheartedly say that White Noise is probably Don DeLillo's magnum opus, because Underworld, while there is good stuff in Underworld, it's also painfully overindulgent and honestly kind of cringe at times. There's just some stupid shit, I thought, in Underworld. And it just goes on, and it's not even clear how all of it connects at times. Underworld, I admired some of it, but it didn't really impress me all that much. But White Noise, on the other hand, this book really is a masterpiece. I would say it totally deserved that National Book Award, and I haven't even finished it yet, but it is changing my perception of Don DeLillo, because like I said, I have not in the past been the biggest fan of his, but this may alter that, because this book is a humdinger so far anyway. So what I'm currently reading is Don DeLillo's White Noise. And the 10th and final question, the most anticipated read for the second half of the year. And for me, I don't have the book yet in my possession. I hope to soon, because my birthday is in a few days, and I put in a wish list kind of request for this book, and that book is going to be Robert Nozick's Anarchy, State, and Utopia, and also a National Book Award winning work, this time of nonfiction. I've wanted to read this book for a while, and like I say, I've just kind of put in a request for a gift for my birthday. So here's hoping I'll have that book in my possession soon. But yeah, the most anticipated read for the second half of 2025 for me is going to be Anarchy, State, and Utopia by Robert Nozick, a seminal work of political philosophy, and one that I'm very much looking forward to reading. So that's my most anticipated read for the latter half of this year. So that has been the Midyear Freakout Tag, or my version of it anyway. Let me know down in the comments how your reading year has gone thus far, what your answers to some or all of these questions might be. And as always, if you have enjoyed anything you've seen or heard here today, remember to hit that like button and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And until next time, peace.